Okay, we are live. I really hope the mic is still working because this is the third time I'm filming this and I'm losing my goddamn mind. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Maria and here we yap about books. This is a channel for the book girlies by a book girly where we talk about books. I really need to work on that slogan. We need a better tagline. But the month is up. It is January. Actually, it's not January, it's February. It's the 2nd of February today. When I filmed this, it was the 31st of January, but then I had audio issues twice. The first time there was no audio, and the second time there was audio distortion so bad that you could not hear a single thing that I was saying. So hopefully 3 times the charm. But without further ado, I read 13 books in January. So 14 actually, technically, I finished one in the evening. I read 14 books in January. So let's talk about them. I started the month out with finishing the Crescent City trilogy with House of Flaming Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I really enjoyed this. Crescent City is up there as one of my favorite series of Maas. I like all of them, don't get me wrong, but I found the characters and the writing in Crescent City so good. I have a burp coming. Originally, I was very reluctant with picking up an urban fantasy. It's not my biggest vibe. I don't love when modern technology is part of a fantasy world. However, it worked really well and it didn't take away that they had like texting and phones and cars and stuff like that. Like I actually liked it a little bit because it made the characters more relatable. However, don't take away my love for normal ordinary fantasy. Like still chef's kiss, but it didn't ruin it for me. I really loved the beginning of it because we're revisiting some characters that I haven't read about in a while, and that was really nice. I'm not gonna say more than that, and I can't talk about it too much because I don't want to spoil the fucking thing. I really thoroughly enjoyed the first part of the book. I found a lot of filler in this one compared to the others too, and they're all equally chunky. However, there's a good few parts of this that I didn't really care about that much, which is why I only rated it 4.5, I think. Because overall, like I did go through it in literally 24 hours. But I found myself not super into some parts of the book, where other parts of the book I really loved. And some of the plot twists were really great in this. Others I did kind of guess. But overall, like it's pretty strong into the series. However, I don't think it's the end of the trilogy. I'm not sure if there's going to be a 4th Crescent City book. I do believe that we will see these characters again. That's all. I'm going to leave it at that. Right after House of Flame and Shadow, I picked up The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. My first V.E. Schwab that I read was Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil, and I fell in love with the prose of Schwab. Like I thought V.E. Schwab's way of writing was super deliberate and poetic, and there's so much care put into it, and you could feel that as the reader. The vibes of the books are kind of similar because in Bury Your Bones we're following vampires, right? Where in this one we are following Addie, who is cursed to never die. Basically, she doesn't grow old, she won't die. However, there is a condition to that. No one will ever remember her, and we do follow Addie through like the ages and her struggles as the person no one remembers, who will have to live through life. So she can't get an apartment, she can't get a job and earn money, so she has to steal and go through life poor basically. However, there's also not really much consequence, because if she gets caught stealing, as soon as they turn their back on her, they've forgotten all about her. It's very interesting premise. I enjoyed meeting Luke, which I probably shouldn't have enjoyed as much as I did, but I am a romantic girly at heart, you know? So like if you give me a morally grey. Well, morally grey. If you give me like a dark, dark stranger who seems kind of bad, but you know, takes on a really nice looking exterior, I am but a girl, you know? But the ending of this book, I really enjoyed. I thought it was really clever plot point, and I thought that the way that it wraps up was really nice, because it turns into not just like the predictable ending, it's a really cunning, like Addie is a really cunning girl, woman, divinity. I don't know what to call her really. If you haven't read An Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which you probably has because I'm late to the party, I really do recommend reading it. It was my first 5-star of the year. And after Addie LaRue, I picked up Daydream to finish off my Maple Hill series by Hannah Grace, and probably my favorite book in the series. I really like Icebreaker. I really like Wildfire. However, Henry is my boy. Henry is my favorite character in this universe, and I adore both him and Hallie. But this boy, this man, this boy became a man. And this had me giggling. I thoroughly had the best time with this. And if you are reluctant picking up the Maple Hills, because I don't know why it would be. Yeah, this was so good, guys. This was so good. I really want to reread it. And like, I'm not an annotator, but I kind of want to annotate every moment that I giggled. I had a great time. I then had The Life Impossible by Matt Haig, which is a slice of life, magic realism, contemporary fiction where we're following our pensioner, a lovely ex-math teacher, Grace, who randomly gets a letter or a phone call. I actually can't remember how the communication was, but gets told that she's inherited a house in Ibiza by an ex-colleague that she hasn't heard from in like 20 years. And she's very confused why this person has left their home to her. But on a whim, she decides to leave behind the graves of her late husband and her late son to go see what this is about. And in Ibiza, she discovers a magical sentient being almost in the ocean that kind of reveals a lot of things, and it's a bit wacky. Like, don't get me wrong, the characters are fun, it's not super serious, but there is a really nice underlying message about letting go of a guilt you carry around for the people who's passed on, and instead of remembering everything you've done wrong, trying to remember everything they were to you in a good sense. And I think it was a really beautiful message of grief in it, and self-blaming and self-sabotaging and living life. But if you are gonna pick this up, I really recommend the audiobook because the narrator was fantastic. I had such a fun time listening to her doing all the accents. It's so good. So if you're picking it up, audiobook. After that, I read The Dark Lord's Guide to Dating and Other War Crimes by Tiffany Hunt. This was sent to me by Scarlet Press. I am a part of the influencer group, the Scarlet Sirens, and this was my first finished copy since joining them that I received. This is every single trope you can think of in a romantasy to an extreme. It's fun, it's a silly, goofy time. And if you know me, you know I'm all for a silly, goofy time. It was really easy to read despite being over 500 pages. It was fun, it was goofy. We're following this Dark Lord on a mission to be the most powerful being in this universe. And in order to do that, he has to perform a ritual, but he needs to marry and consummate the marriage with someone of the bloodline of an old king. And he finds a woman who's a bit of a troublemaker, who's a bit of an outcast in this realm, and thinks that's an easy mark. No one will miss her. I'll kidnap her, make her my wife, and it'll be all la-di-da. Except she's not that easy to kidnap. This woman turns out that she's a magical, powerful being. She's a very stubborn lady, and she's not so easy to just manipulate. But Lady Arabella also kind of finds out that she has a taste for the darker things in life, and it's not a super serious romantasy. Like, it does feel a little bit like a parody of all the tropes that we know and love in more traditional settings of romantasy novels, but kind of in the best way, you know? So if you're looking for maybe a fun palate cleanser or an easy introduction to romantasy, this might be a really, really good time for you. After that, I went on to read some Tessa Bailey. Speaking of a silly, goofy, fun time, no one does that as my queen, Tessa Bailey. I really love her writing style. It's fun, it's easy, you don't have to use a whole lot of brain power. In It Happened One Summer, we're following Piper, who kind of fucks up a little bit in Hollywood to the point where her stepfather is done with her. Like, he's had enough, he's bailed her out of jail a few times too many, and he wants her to learn a lesson. So his way of doing that is sending her off to Westport in Washington, where her late biological father had a dive bar. And she's meant to stay in the dive bar and ends up wanting to kind of renovate it and breathe it back to life as both a remark for her late father, but also to prove that she's learned her lesson, basically. So she's there with her sister trying to accomplish this until she meets the grumpy seaman, fisherman, Captain Brendan? Yes, Brendan, I had to double check. Who's not very keen on her being there with them because she's an outsider. What does this spoiled princess know about, like, the good people of Westport? However, he kind of eats the words when he becomes obsessed with her. And I had a great time. It's the only thing I think is, if you're reading this, read it in like summertime, because it was weird picking this up in January. Thanks to my TBR jar. It's a very good typical Tessa Bailey novel, and if you're looking for a fun romance where it's low stakes, well, it was high stakes for Piper, but low stakes for you as the reader to pick up, it was a very good read. Not so low stakes, I picked up Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder afterwards, and guys, I don't know why I waited this long with picking it up. Well, I didn't own it until literally for Christmas, where Lexi got me a copy of it as a present. But I understand the hype. I get it. I do. I understand. And I am desperate for Light Wielder to come out so I can continue on after the plot twist in this book. We're following Bryn, who spent most of her life with the Alaha. She's an urchin's daughter who's kind of like the lower end of society, working up to become a guard for the king, basically. She's training her whole life, and they go on to a boat ride. So basically Alahas are exiled to the sea, and every once a year or every 2 years, I can't remember, they're allowed to go to the mainland to trade, basically, so they can stay alive. When they come to this trading post to trade and get their livestock and what they need for surviving at sea, shit breaks loose, right? And there's so many like revelations from that I don't want to talk about, because you really should go into this blind, in my opinion. I only read the blurb, and I actually kind of wish I didn't, but the blurb doesn't tell you a whole lot, just that there's a lot of revelations happening, and that's like the plot. We're discovering a lot of things, and if I were to tell you, that would spoil the book. So if you want a fantasy, a romantasy with yearning, with tension, with question marks throughout the book, with fun characters, with interesting plot points, interesting world building, cool magic system, and a insane plot twist at the end, go pick up Metal Slinger. After Metal Slinger, I read Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I still don't know if I'm saying their last name correct, but Me Before You, we're following Lou Clark, who loses her job at the cafe that she's working at, or tea shop that she's working at, and through the job center gets an interview with the Trainer family, where she's interviewed for the role as a caretaker of Will Traynor, who is in a wheelchair. This story is a lot about like the morality of assisted suicide and embracing life and battling a lot of mental obstacles and physical and society's obstacles. We touch on a lot of dark things in this, and I do think if you are sensitive to talks about like death and loss of mobility as well as assault. Now, the assault is not directly described, however, it is a main point. It's very obviously hinted to in this. It's a very sad book. I can see how this would open up discussions for like the morality of assisted suicide, especially because that it's on the back as well. Like it is a main point in this book, and Lou is basically doing her absolute best to convince Will that life is worth living even without the mobility that he has. I thought it was a really beautiful book. I did power through it super quickly, but I can also see how this could hurt people reading. So bear that in mind if you were to pick this up. After that, I read Holly Black's Cruel Prince. I'm only just picking up this now. I've been very intimidated because I know a lot of people adore Carton and Jude. We're following Jude, who is a human girl who was basically abducted and taken into the world of fairy, where she's been brought up by a fairy general because he's the father of her oldest sister and her mother, whereas her and her twin sister are the daughter of her mother and their human father. But the fairy general comes to take his daughter back basically, and it ends up being all three kids going to fairy, and they're brought up in this world, which is, I found the world really, really cool because it kind of, so my face is itchy. Dog hairs. I found it really cool because we are seeing a lot of like classic fairy traits in this world, not the romanticized version of them. They're mean, they're trying to lure and trick and kill mortals because it's fun. They live for a cheeky deal. They live for seeing if they can get a bargain, if they can get you in harm's way, because they're intrigued by death, because they're immortal. Like they won't age and die like they can die, but they won't die just as easily as humans will. So I found that really, really cool. I knew it was a YA going into it, but I think I had psyched the book up way more than it probably needed to, because it was a good book, but I think I gave it 3.5 of 4 stars. I'm putting all the ratings up here anyway. I'm going to continue the series because I like the plot of it, I like the idea of it, and it does feel like a true enemies to lovers, but I'm lowering my expectations a lot, and it's been a while since I read a YA, so it's most likely me. I know a lot of people adore this. I think I just expected more from the writing, and I did see a few of like the plot points very early on, so that took away some of the appeal, so to speak, in the book. But I'm excited to continue on the series and see where it goes and get wowed, hopefully. After that, I read The Spanish Love Deception, where we're following Catalina Martin and Aaron Blackwell, I think. Aaron Blackford, who work together. They're both team leaders, and Catalina's sister is getting married back in Spain, and Catalina hasn't been home and seen her family really since she had a really nasty breakup with her ex-boyfriend, and her whole family is kind of looking at her with pity, and she hates that. So she wants to go back to Spain for the wedding with a date. She wants to make sure that they don't think that she's this miserable, pitying girl who just is still hung up on her ex. Cue Aaron, who offers to substitute her non-existing boyfriend. Did I forget to mention that Catalina despises Aaron and is fully convinced Aaron despises her? It is a really, really fun, easy read. I think Elena Hermaz has such a good way with words, and her romance novels are so fun. I've read The American Roommate Experience and The Long Game already by her, and it's a good time. Like, it's fun. I deducted this as half a star by the only reason that at some point Aaron says, "I want to feel you milk me," and that is disgusting. Other than that, it was a great time, and the the actual yearning in this book was very, very good. And we're down to the last 4 books, which is Fangirl Down, The Au Pair Affair, Dreamgirl Drama, and Picture Perfect by Tessa Bailey. I received Catch Her If You Can by Harper 360 as an arc, and I really wanted to get to it, but I'm also the kind of person that if I know it's a series, even if it's an interconnected standalone kind of gal, I need to read 1 to the end. So, which is also why I haven't started Heated Rivalry with Heated Rivalry. I am waiting to get the first book in the series because I want to read them 1, 2, 3, 4, go on up. So, I don't own a copy of Picture Perfect, but I bought it on my Kobo. So I did read the first 4 books, and I'm currently reading Catch Her If You Can, having a great time. This is literally the meaning of a silly, goofy time. They're easy to read, they're silly, they're giddy, like it's just a silly, goofy time. And how many times can I say silly, goofy time in one video? A lot. In Fangirl Down, we're following Wells Whittaker and Josephine Doyle, who is golfer and #1 golf fan of him. They go into a partnership where Josephine has to caddy for Wells, as well as like coach him and help him get his spark back, because Wells has really been sucking with golf lately. And it's a really cute story of like believing in yourself with the right people behind you, and it's very insta love. Like, don't get me wrong, there's instant attraction, but I think that's very typical Tessa Bailey. Like, it's fun, we know they're gonna end up together, why hide it? It's sexy, it's cute, it's giddy, like you can't go wrong. The Au Pair Affair is Tallulah, who's the best friend of Josephine, and Burgess, who is a pal of Wells. So we do meet these two in the first book, and Tallulah is coming back to Boston after having been in an internship in Antarctica, where she was helping out a research project, and she's going to Boston University to study her PhD, I think. I can't remember the details now. They're not really important. And Burgess is a hockey player who suddenly gained more custody of his daughter. Well, he's after a divorce and has his daughter visiting him once a week, I think. I can't remember exactly how the custody ordeal was. But basically he's looking for a live-in nanny or au pair in order to help him with his daughter. Here comes Tallulah. And it's really, like, there's again instant attraction from this moment Burgess looks at Tallulah. Tallulah is also very attracted, but she has to overcome a lot of her own obstacles. And I will say, in such a short romance novel, to have a plot point of was wild. And I understand that Tallulah was working on like not being so skeptical and afraid and mistrusting of people in general. However, it felt like that plot point, or like that trauma of hers, without having any like therapy being brought up at all, was a little bit wild. And I'm not sure I liked it for a silly goofy time. I do really like Burgess and Tallulah together though, and I thought they were very cute. The third book is Chloe and Sig. Chloe Clifford and Sig Gautier, who's a hockey player on Burgess's team, and Chloe is his soon-to-be stepsister. Yeah, I'm not a fan of like pseudo-incestuous relationships at all. And I know they're not technically related, but this is just, you know, I didn't like credence for this sake, you know, like that's not me. If there's any sort of family relation in the title, I don't want it. So it turns out that like, well, I can't tell you exactly, but like they meet before they're being introduced as soon to be step siblings, because Sig's father and Chloe's mother are in a relationship and they're engaged basically. And they had like a really nice moment and a kiss before knowing this, and they are obviously very attracted to each other, and as they get to know each other more, they fall more and more in love, but they're still soon to be step siblings. Yeah. say it's my least favorite in this. See, it's weird, right? Because I really like Chloe and I really like Sick, but I could not get over the step sibling thing. No, no. Last but not least, I read Picture Perfect by Tessa Bailey as well, the 4th one in the Big Shot series. I don't own a physical copy, but again, it was on my Kindle, which is about, oh yeah, I forgot. So in this book, we actually meet Elton and, what's her name? Oh, I can't remember. I literally just read it. Girl. Oh, Skylar. Okay, so in this book, we meet Skylar, who's the sister. No, we meet Elton and Skylar. Elton is a guy who walks in the dog park, meets Chloe and like wants to pick her up basically. And obviously Sig is against that. So they end up kind of daring each other for a baseball match against the hockey players and Elton's team. And Elton brings on his sister Skylar, and Sig has Robbie, who is on his hockey match. Editing Maria here. I'm noticing that I can't speak proper English when I'm recording. He's on Sig's team, not his hockey match, his hockey team. I don't know. I swear I can actually speak English. Just bear with me. Thanks. And the 4th book, Picture Perfect, is between Skylar and Robbie, who Skylar loses a bet with Robbie and has to go on a coffee date, whatever, with him. And as they're talking and chatting, it turns out Skylar has like a family annual competition, but her best friend Eve has cancelled on her all of a sudden, and she doesn't have anyone to be her partner during the competition now. So Robbie, of course, being instantly attracted to her, offers his help. And the book then kind of turns into not only helping her out with the competition, but Robbie's also helping her out finding her confidence around seducing boys, because Skylar is attracted to Elton, her brother's, again stepbrother, but brother's best friend. But as she's learning more and more from Robbie, it turns out she's not that much in love with him and has feelings for someone else. Da da da! It's very cute. I think Picture Perfect so far is my favorite out of the 4 books. They're all the same writing style. The plot is not super strong. The characters are fun, but not like super advanced. So if you're just looking, especially for February, looking for a fun, easy, giggly, kick flipping, feet kicking time, the Big Shot series is a great way to start. And that's the 14 books that I read in January. I had a pretty good month, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I had some really, really strong, good reads, but I also had some not so strong, but still really fun time. And a 5-star, at least 1 5-star, I think. Was there more? No, I think there was other like 4, 4.5, and 3.5 stuff. But overall, it was a really good month and I'm chuffed. I'm excited to see what February is going to bring now. I am finishing up Catch Her If You Can, and then I'm picking up Alchemist as my first book, like first full book. And I'm not sure how to feel about that, but we'll see. I have some really fun vlogs on the way, coming your way soon. I'm getting giddy thinking about them because it's insane that some of it actually turned out to be possible. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'd love to know what was your favorite read of January, if you'd let me know in the comments. And if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. It means the world to me, and it would be even better if you'd subscribe to the channel. All of my socials and all of that jazz is down in the description of this video, so if you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I will also link my Goodreads and my StoryGraph down there if you want to follow my actual reviews, because I do write in-depth reviews. I'm just more articulate writing than I am talking. I don't know if everyone else is like that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!